Hello everybody and welcome back to the experiments of Twilight Sparkle. I'm going to be your host today, Fanfixational, and I guess we're going to start on chapter 5, which is Into the Mind of a Rainbow. Author's note, this was a fun and interesting chapter to write. That is all. Let's get this party started. While Fluttershy was still unconscious, Dash and Rarity were crying harder than ever. Their bodies were aching from the pain from the psychological trauma alone. "This isn't happening," Rarity sobbed. "Twilight would never do this to us." It seemed they would never get out of this hopeless situation. They had no reason to continue hoping. Twilight turned off the electronic instrument. Now that we got the cliché fitness experiments out of the way, let's begin with the psychological. Rainbow Dash knew that she was next. "This is a nightmare. I'm just having another horrible, realistic nightmare." Her muscles tensed as the doctor came to her with a syringe. Oh, gosh. Well, let me just point this out. I am deathly afraid of needles. I don't know why. I don't know how. Needles just scare the living crap out of me. I'm just going to throw that out there for now. Now, this is when the truly interesting experiments commence, Twilight said, holding the needle closer to Dash. "Rainbow Dash, you are the best flyer in Equestria, are you not?" Rainbow Dash just stared. Twi gave Dash a good slap. "Are you?" Dash spat on Twilight's amused face. Twilight gave her a harder smack. Then she punched her hard in the nose and mouth. "Come on, give me an answer." Rainbow's mouth and nose bled. Yes, it's true." "Then you must be physically fit," Twilight said. "I'm amazed you were never a Wonderbolt. Seriously, why wouldn't the Wonderbolts accept you as one of them? They knew you were the best flyer in the skies. It makes no sense. Tell me, are you in season? And I swear I will inflict so much pain on you, more so than before, if you do not answer truthfully." Dash did not know where this mare was going with this. She didn't know what to say. Would it help further along her sick experiments if she did give her this information? The interrogating pony just sighed. "Never mind, it matters not." She stuck the hypodermic needle into the rainbow maned pony's ovaries and pumped out its eggs. Oh God, oh man. "I'm going to genetically engineer some beautiful offspring of yours, Dashie. They'll be just as, or hopefully more athletic than you. I've already extracted sperm from Soren. He really liked that." She winked. "It's like they will be both of your children. Orphan children." Dash just realized the implications of what she told her. "You killed Soren? How many other ponies did you kill?" Twi happily replied, "I'd prefer to say ponies I've experimented on. Let's see, there's Lyra. When I exposed her to high doses of radiation, I started with smaller doses, kind of silly, but I wanted to see if she would mutate. She didn't quite, so I exposed her to more. It didn't turn out exactly as I hoped. With Snails, I don't remember what I did with him. The next one is kind of embarrassing. Get this, I removed all of the mare's organs and bones. Then I tried taking various body parts and organs from several other ponies and put them all together with the mare's brain, to make a pony of my own creation with the mare's consciousness. The poor composite body wouldn't budge." The two shaking pony prisoners were struggling to cope with the realization of what a sickening reality this was. They were sick to their stomachs. Twilight continued. "These experiments were not confined to ponies. I kidnapped Zecora, injected her with all sorts of diseases, and tested out some experimental antidotes I invented. Some worked, but others didn't, and it didn't end well for her. And various other wildlife I've taken to do some genetic experimentation on them. I have some of the resulting life forms floating in the fluid-filled tanks. And getting off topic here, I killed the diamond dogs because they were menace to society. But enough of me blabbing away. You get the picture. Oh, goodness. Twilight, come on now." Anyways, she put away the syringe. Yeah, she put it on. Because, syringes are beautiful accessories. I don't know if you knew this. Anyways, I'm just being silly. She put away the syringe only to take out several more. They were bigger in size and the hypodermic needles were longer in length. God. I swear, if she starts, like, oh, man. They were intimidating. Twilight enjoyed herself as she gave a long lick straight across the area below Dash's navel, but above her forbidden zone. She fed off the warmth of Dash's brain activity as she put her forehead to Rainbow's. Rainbow Dash, I must really get to know you more. I must get inside your head. Feeling incredibly uncomfortable was an understatement for the Cyan Pegasus. How was I going to do this again? Then Twilight remembered. She put sort of an electronic helmet on Rainbow Dash's head and strapped it down tight. The helmet had wires coming out of it connecting to one of the machines on the side of the wall. The machine's monitor was showing the Rainbow Pony's brainwave patterns. Twi held up one of the syringes and had the shaking pony get a nice long look at it. After the mental torment, she injected Dash with a menacing-looking substance. She sat down on the floor like a dog 2.5 meters away from in front of Dashie, waiting for the hormone to take effect with an eager, excited, smiling face. Pretty soon, Dash felt a way she had never before. She felt naked, bare, exposed, and ashamed of it. She had an urge to cover a certain body part of hers that was showing, but she couldn't. Her hooves were held down firm on her metal board. Had the circumstances been not so dire, hiding herself would be a bigger priority, but she was too miserable to think about it enough. Twilight noticed a change in brainwave patterns from Dash's distressed mind displayed on the monitor. It appears to be working. She got up and stood in front of the naked mare, looking her up and down. Rainbow Dash, she smirked. Put some clothes on. This had Rainbow pay more attention to her nakedness. She let out a whine and tried crossing her legs. She felt so uncomfortable. Trying to tolerate the sight of the gruesome remains of her two friends. Rarity glanced over at Twilight Sparkle and Rainbow Dash, trying to figure out what was happening to Dashie. What did that shot do to you, Dash? I'm not sure, her friend replied. I don't want anyone seeing my lower half. Miss Sparkle wrote Dash's words on a paper. Yep, here we go with war again. Everything is a fashion accessory. Then jotted down personal features of Rainbow Dash and showed them to her. Now Dash's shame was rivaling her trauma. The excited doctor grabbed hold of the next syringe. Man, this is going to be awesome. She gave another shot while singing. I don't know this song. Just flowing into your bloodstream, la 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 la. After a moment or so, the Pegasus in torment began to hear a faint static noise. It steadily grew in volume until it was just fluctuate in volume. It was soon accompanied by guitar screams and squealing of random durations, pitch and volume fluctuations, and rates of these fluctuations. It was obviously chaotic and maddening. The room of death they were in began to distort. The lengths and depths of things were exaggerated. Some dimensions of objects seemed shorter, and other dimensions seemed longer. Some areas of the lab walls moved closer to the Pegasus, while the others moved further away. Did she inject her with some kind of drug? That sounds trippy. To Rarity, it was just a cyan winged horse sweating, shaking, and staring into space with a shocked and confused look. Dash? Dash spoke. Stop it, Twilight! Just stop it! I don't want to hear your mocking words. You're not? But how can you talk to me if you're dead? What's that? Is that how to escape? Oh, boy. Twilight happily watched while writing notes of what was happening. Rarity was very confused and concerned. Rainbow Dash, who are you speaking to? Dash yelled, as if defending herself from an attack. Quiet! Let my dead relative speak. He says it's important. Her eyes watered. I know. They're... Yes, they are. She couldn't even look at her dead pony friends. See for yourself, they're alive. Because of the simple fact of that they are there. Yes, that does kind of make sense. Yeah, of course it does. Why wouldn't it make sense? And that means... Yes! Oh, Pinkie Pie, Applejack! Dash cried tears of joy. I thought we've lost you. Ha! In your face, Twilight Jerkle! Rarity was shocked that Dash said this, but then thought maybe it was her way of coping with the loss. I know, Dash. I want them back too, but... Rarity started to cry again. Dash thought, now, how to get out of here? Twilight, you scum, release us at once. Twilight snickered as she recorded Dash's words and behavior. As you wish. The cusp of Dash's and Pinky's table glowed and opened, releasing the Pegasus. Would they escape this time? No, they couldn't. Twilight wouldn't let them. She wouldn't let Applejack set them free when she was out of those cuffs. Dash immediately bolted towards Twilight Sparkle and delivered a devastating blow on the head. Dash's victim fell to the floor, giving a huge teeth-baring grin. Upon seeing this, Rarity thought that maybe they did have another chance to be delivered. Dash seemed to have full control of her body. Has Twilight just made a blunder? Was it out of insanity or stupidity? No. She had to have something up her sleeve. Dash pinned the grinning unicorn to the ground. Let Rarity and Fluttershy go! But they are free. They are breathing, are they not? Humored Twilight, taking out the nails that pinned down Pinkie Pie's flesh to the metal table, out of her pre-made holes with her magic. You can't trick me. Breathing is not the reason they are free. Their heart beating is. What? Okay. Rainbow quickly came to the dead Pinkie Pie and gave her a hug. I'm so happy you're alive. Rarity knew now that Rainbow Dash actually believed that Pinkie and Applejack were not dead. The deluded Pegasus went to Applejack. Come on, y'all. Let's get the hay out of here, sugar cubes. We'll report the purple vermin to the authorities. I really should have done a Dash Applejack voice there, but whatever. Sounded good enough. Rainbow Dash lifted the square metal plate off of the top of the former farmer pony. The device was off. She picked up the body and flew towards the stairs. The wires from their helmet connecting to the machine was against the wall, however, prevented her from leaving. The cords were very strong and firmly embedded into the machine and her electronic headwear, which was securely strapped around her head, just like Twilight planned. Why ain't you leaving? You're too traumatized. Oh, wrong voice. Why ain't you leaving? You're too traumatized from the events that took place this night. Here, let me help ya. Rainbow Dash threw Applejack's dead body down, landing on top of Fluttershy. The impact didn't wake up the yellow Pegasus, though. It, in fact, put into a deeper state of unconsciousness. Okay. The reason for this is not quite known. Okay, I should have read that before I questioned it. Rarity had no idea what to think. Did this shot do that to her? Nah, really? Replied Twilight. A lesson will be learned from this. Rarity tried knocking sense into Rainbow Dash. Rainbow! Applejack isn't dead. Don't throw her like she's a rag doll. And don't hug Pinkie. She has no... organs. She felt nauseous again. She's dead as well. It was the shot that is making you believe they're alive. But listen to me, they're dead. Rarity cried at her own words. Dash gave Pinkie Pie an embracing squeeze, staining her coat red. I cannot read. You need help too, Wild One? Go help Rarity. Holding up the dripping dead pony over her shoulder, she carried it over to Rarity and had it lean up against the white unicorn. She's alive, Rarity! Alive! Rarity's eyes widened as she was forced to stare straight into the pony's cold, lifeless eyes. Pinkie Pie's blood-covered corpse, with no internal organs or top section of her cranium, lying right on her, caused her to quiver uncontrollably. She felt the warm, fresh blood from the mutilated pony flow down her shivering body. She just couldn't hold in the puke. The acidic stomach fluid splashed into the motionless face of the deceased pony, then oozed down both bodies. Rarity was struggling to breathe. Dash, snap out of it. Do something. Dashy looked baffled. Oh, goodness. Dashy looked baffled. Why aren't any of you leaving? She picked up Pinkie's body from Rarity and shook it violently, making blood and vomit splats on the surrounding floors. Yeah, silly. Let's go for a party. I'm serving multicolored cupcakes with raspberry frosting and grape-flavored sprinkles. Rarity knew that her Pegasus friend had officially gone completely mad. But nothing prepared her for what happened next. Oh boy. After laying the body on the floor, Rainbow Dash sat next to it and sank her teeth into one of the front legs and tore off a huge mass of Pinky's raw red muscle. "Free samples," Dash said, gnawing on the piece of the skeletal muscle while blood was dripping down from her mouth. In a few moments of great word. I've never seen that word. Solicitude? Solicitude? Yeah, I guess that's right. Whatever that word is. Rarity loudly vociferated. While shaking and twitching with such force, she strained various tendons in her body. After chewing and swallowing about 1/3 of the piece of Pinkie Pie that she ripped out, the Psycho Pegasus dropped it on the floor and took another healthy bite out of her leg. She forcefully pulled another chunk from the front leg, taking with it strands of muscle that peeled off like string cheese. She ate roughly half of it before letting it fall to the ground, and then bit another part off with her messy red teeth. Oh, she's turning into a zombie. Zombie ponies. Rarity couldn't dare watch any more of this. "Rainbow Dash, stop it! Just stop it!" She said, her eyes tightly shut and her head turned away. This did not stop her mentally sick friend. The insane pony just kept biting off and munching on the helpings of Pinkie Pie, like she was eating a chicken leg. Aw, poor Scootaloo. Sorry. "Don't fret. I'll transport you outside soon, Rarity. Oh, why must I feel this way?" Rainbow Dash hid her special part under the pink corpse as to keep it out of sight. Meanwhile, Twilight Sparkle was very entertained. Plus, she really felt like a scientist. She was so excited. She would have loved to be more directly involved in the experiment, but she had to take notes. After about 20 agonizing minutes of pony cannibalism, Dash had stripped Pinkie's front leg of nearly all its brawn. Then went for the exposed radius. Twi realizes, "No! Don't damage the bone." She went over to the machine that had cords coming from the helmet on Dash's head were hooked up. She pressed a button on the apparatus and the wires contracted into the mechanism, like a cord from a vacuum cleaner. This pulled the cannibal toward the machine, restraining her from the ruining of the leg part of the skeleton. She now had a much smaller range to move around in. "Sorry, Rainbow Dash," the Dr. Unicorn spoke, "but I want to have a skeletal model of Pinkie. Say, I do believe we are done with this session. What have we just discovered, you asked? We're discovering that, under her current state of mind, this is how Rainbow Dash manifests her loyalty to her friends. Just look at how desperate she is to free you all, such as by transporting Pinkie out of this place. Onward!" The restricted Cyan Pegasus tried desperately to break free. She was pulling hard on the strap from her electronic headgear, but she couldn't break free. She was like a vicious dog held by a tied-up leash. "I need to let my friends know I love them. Why won't the noise stop?" Rainbow Dash kept struggling, but after a few minutes she sat on the ground, shaking and in a fetal position, out of shame and fear. She was wearing a scary grimace. She was sweating so much she looked like she went bobbing for apples. Her eyes were wide, her pupils were small. Her eyes looked around like crazy. Then her expression changed. For a few moments she was looking as if she were thinking hard about something. Meanwhile, Twilight Sparkle had a few sips of her hot, orangey-green drink from the glassware, and was about to prepare for Fluttershy. She was stopped, however, by the sound of something ripping and a muffled scream, followed by the sensation of being hit by a soft, wet, squishy object on her side. The object fell to the ground, making a splat sound, like a dropped gravy-covered scoop of mashed potatoes. Ew. Oh, that sounds so gross. She turned and looked to see what it was. She saw that Rainbow Dash had a huge, deep gash in her hind leg with a lot of blood rushing out of it. "Oh, I suppose we're not done. Wow, that drug is having more severe effect on you than I predicted," Twilight said while she readied her pen and paper. Rainbow Dash was in tears as her mouth grabbed a second smooth piece of her outermost organ. "I must break free!" She stretched it to its breaking point. "It's necessary. Transporting myself over there." She noticed that the purple unicorn was observing her. She spat that bit of herself out of her blood-dripping mouth. "Stop looking at me! You're looking at my vulva, aren't you?" she cried. She took an even bigger mass out of her own throbbing leg, and released her loudest scream yet, at the same time crying more tears of burning pain. The nude winged pony placed her own sticky brawn fragment in between her legs. Twilight gave a giggle as she continued jotting down what she saw. "We'll see who comes out on top. I'm breaking free as I speak." Dash continued the cycle of tearing off some of her own leg, wailing and weeping, and spitting the lump of herself onto the ground away from her. "See? Even now I'm slowly moving toward that spot, and out of these chains," she said while pointing to the area where she was throwing herself to, bit by bit. Well, she kind of has a point. She is moving. It's just not her majority of her body. It's just chunks. Spoke the thinking unicorn. "I've took enough notes. I'll let the machine continue recording the brain activity through Dash's helmet and analyze the data later. Now, we may move on. Oh, joy." The doctor went back to retrieve a cart with a tray. The tray had tools on it, hidden under a cloth. There were also alcohol-filled basting bulbs, and bottles of water. Twilight gave Fluttershy a few slaps. "Yoo-hoo! Time to wake up. Sweetie, you can do it." The Pegasus didn't respond. Twilight gave her a gentle hug, and then moved to Plan B. And that's the end of this part.